Hi, this is Lori Niles from violinist.com, and today I'd like to tell you about how to tune your violin. So I'm going to go over a few things. First, I'm going to go over how to use your pegs and how to use your fine tuners and which direction to turn them, all that kind of thing. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about pitch and how to identify if something is flat or sharp and then what to do about it. So first, let's talk about your pegs. These are the pegs of your violin. And you can tell which peg works for which string by just kind of following the string up to that peg. This is for the E string, this one is for the A, this is for the D, and this is for the G. So in order to make the pitch higher, you have to turn the peg this way if it's over here, or this way, sort of out. So if my A needs to be higher, I just made it higher. I just made the pitch higher. If you want to bring the pitch down, you're going to turn it toward you. On either side, it's going to be toward you. So I'm going to bring this pitch back down by turning it toward me. That's how the pegs work. We just talked about the pegs, and when you want to change the pitch a lot, you're going to use the pegs. But when you want to change the pitch just a little bit, you're going to use the fine tuners. Now, I just have one fine tuner for the E string, and smaller violins tend to have a fine tuner on every string, and it's actually fine if you want to put a fine tuner on every string. It can make it a little bit easier to tune, but they change the pitch just a little bit. So on my E string, if I want to make it a little bit higher, I'm going to go clockwise. So I'll show you what that does. So that changed the pitch, but just a little bit. Now, if I want to bring the pitch back down, I'm going to loosen the string by turning it counterclockwise. And that brought it lower. So that's how you lower the pitch with the fine tuners. So when you're tuning your violin, you have to decide whether the pitch of each string needs to go higher or lower. And to do that, you can either do it by ear or you can do it with a chromatic tuner. So we're going to talk first about doing it by ear. So if you are tuning by ear, the first thing you need is sort of a comparison pitch so that you know what the right A sounds like. We usually start with the A string. So what you would do is take something that has an A that's already correct. For example, right here, I have my little metronome, and on it there is a tuning thing. So that gives me a 440A. There's also on YouTube, you can find a 440A. 440 is the hertz in the pitch. But anyway, you can find that on YouTube. You can find a correct A. You could also use your piano at home. Just just play it. If you are at a lesson or something like that, you can have your teacher play the A. And then what you have to decide is your violin high or low to that pitch? So let's say, I'm just going to untune my violin here for a second. So let's say I use this, and this is my correct pitch. Forget my singing voice. And then I hear my own is... That is out of tune. Is it too high or is it too low? Well, one thing you can try is singing it. Ah. Here's the correct one. Oops, that wasn't correct. Ah. Ba, ba. I had to raise my voice. I had to go up. So that means I need to make my string higher, and so what I'm going to do, and I need to make it pretty higher, so I'm going to use my peg to raise the pitch until it's the correct pitch and it matches what I'm hearing here. Okay. Now you also might have a scenario where your pitch is too high and you have to make it lower. So let's listen to our pitch. Okay. Here's my A now. So, head to make that lower. So now what I need to do is I need to loosen the string with the peg to make it lower until it sounds like my A. So I just messed that up. So that's another thing that you can do. So if you aren't sure if it's too high or too low, you can just purposely make it lower. Now it's definitely lower. And you listen, okay, I know it's lower now. I'm just gonna bring it back up there slowly. So, you can sort of push it around. And it takes a while to be able to do this on your shoulder. At first you're probably gonna tune like this with the peg, all right? And then if it's just a tiny, tiny bit out of tune, you'll take a, you can use, well, you can't do it on the A string, but if you had the fine tuner here, you could use the fine tuner, okay? So that is how you bring the pitch up or you bring it down, and you can use your voice to sort of help you determine if it's too high or too low. If you just can't tell, we'll just knock it lower and then bring it higher. You know it's low, and then you can just make it higher. And then you can do that for each string by using a piano. There are a few YouTube channels that actually have all 4 strings. And the other option though, if you are tuning by ear, you tune this first, and then you use your sense of fifths. Okay, so this is a little more complex. You're using the intervals to see if they sound right, and then playing them together to see if the fifths mesh. And you can, it's a little harder to hear this, and it comes with a little more experience, but you can kind of tell. What happens is that the sound waves actually mesh together a little bit. If it's out of tune, I'm going to make my D string out of tune. You can sort of hear when they kind of mesh together. All right, so then the last way to tune, and this is not really the last way, because this might very well be the very best option, is to use a chromatic tuner. And this just gives you a sense of whether your A is right on target or not. So you see this little thing, it's detecting my voice. So if my voice were at a perfect A, this thing turns green, and that line goes to the middle. And then it tells me if I'm too high or too low. So looking at this, if I play my A, it's pretty well in tune. A little bit sharp. And basically you just use this to get that, you lower it or you make it a little bit higher until it's right in the middle and it's green. And different tuners work different ways, but they are a great way, especially if you don't have a piano at home. And you can tune every string with this, and get it sort of perfectly in tune. And so I would highly recommend that for students and parents of students, and for tuning at home. I use it a lot because mine allows me to do different kinds of A's, 440, 441, 442. And so I can tune to the A that I want to tune to without having to find that somewhere to listen to. So anyway, I hope this has helped you with some basic tuning concepts. And please visit violinist.com. We've got some PDFs that you can use, and also a description of all these concepts. Thank you very much.